Hi everyone, welcome back on my channel. Today I'm going to test a new format which is called Species Profile, and in this format I'm going to talk about one species that I've been keeping for some time, and I will talk about my experience with this species and the things you have to consider if you want to keep this species. The first species I'm going to talk about is Stenopoma weeksii, which has been described by George Albert Bullinger in 1896. It was for a longer period of time known under the name Stenopoma oxyrhynchum, which turned out to be a synonym for Stenopoma weeksii. Unlike many other Stenopuma species, they stay relatively small. They normally grow up to about 9 to 10 centimeters in the max, which would be the equivalent of about 4 inches. According to FishBase, they get up to 12 centimeters standard length, which would be without a tail, but I've never seen Stenopoma weeksii being that big, and I think it might be a confusion with Stenopoma maculatum, which looks very similar and gets much bigger. Stenopoma weeksii lives in the Congo region and is very rare in the hobby. In fact, it is very difficult to get a hold of them in Europe. Don't know what it's like in the United States or other parts of the world, but at least in Europe, they're very rare in the hobby. As I said, they don't get very big, but that doesn't mean that you can keep them in a small tank. I think an adequate tank should be at least 160 liters, so something like 100 by 40 by 40 centimeters or something in that region. Like most Stenopoma species, they can be pretty aggressive against each other, but they're totally peaceful against any other fish, as long as it doesn't fit in their mouth. And you shouldn't underestimate that, because they have a very big mouth. And if you keep them with, let's say, neon tetras or a fish in that size, they will definitely get eaten. You also don't want to keep them together with any kind of shrimps, because they just will eat them or tear them apart if they're too big. Maybe the real big ones like Attaya gabonensis would work, but I've never tried that. But any Neocaridina or Amano shrimps will get torn to pieces within seconds. As long as the fish are big enough, say about half their size, or it depends on the body form of course, you're totally safe. You can keep Stenopoma species as a pair, but I don't recommend that. You want to rather keep them in a group. I think 5 to 7 individuals would be perfect. If you keep them as a pair, there's the danger that the female will be harassed by the male too much. And if you have a bigger group, the aggression will divide much better. That goes for all Stenopoma species and for the microstenopoma species as well. Always keep them in a group. They don't need high water temperature either. In fact, I think it's best to keep them around 22 to 25 degrees Celsius. Higher temperatures are not necessary and just would reduce their lifespan. Breeding isn't too difficult. Here you can see some of the spawned eggs floating in the tank. Unfortunately, I didn't manage to film the spawn itself, because it took place directly above the ground behind the woods. I sucked off a part of the eggs with a small hose and put them in a separate tank. Here you can see the eggs in a 12 liters tank the next day. They hatch about 36 hours after the spawn. This footage was shot 9 days after the spawn. Raising the fry is not difficult at all. You can immediately start feeding Artemia nauplia after the yolk sac is gone. As you can see, the body color of the fry looks quite funny during the first days. They're half black, half white. And they're pretty active from the start. 6 days later, not much has changed. And you can see that the color is slowly turning from black to brown. About 3.5 weeks after the spawn, they start to look more and more like their parents. And after 5 weeks, they look like miniature versions of the adults. This video was taken when they were 2 months old. And that's how they look today, about 5 months after they hatched. I've given most of the fry away in the meantime, because I couldn't keep them all, And I'm left with 10 now, but I will only keep 5 of them and give the other 5 away. I have 5 adults in the other tank, and this will make a nice group of 10 Stenopuma weeksii. It's really sad that they're so rare in the hobby, because they're very beautiful fish. They're not too colorful, I admit that, but they can show a great variety of patterns depending on their mood. And they're not difficult to keep at all. One of the reasons might be that they're very difficult to get, because they're rarely imported. Alright, that's it. I hope you liked this video. If you did so, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so. I would also appreciate if you'd comment below the video and tell me what you think of this format, and if you want to see more stuff like this, more fish profiles. Of course, I'm not going to do a profile on any standard fish. There's tons of that stuff on YouTube, so I'm going to concentrate on the rare West African fish. And I have quite some rarities, as you might know if you've seen some of my other videos. Alright, that's it for now. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye.